so I'm trying to keep on from talking about it. I know Brother Fitz Houston, my name is Brother Fitz Houston.
I don't think he pushed play yet.
It's on. We on. We got you at the top of your head.
And
you're on too.
we'll be talking about living a lust-free life. I've generalized it because my personal testimony was being delivered by the Word of God after 30 years of pornography addiction. Cold turkey. Now, I say cold turkey because I got to a point where it was dominating my life almost like other people with drugs, alcohol, masturbation, and fantasy was controlling me. And I didn't realize the stronghold it had on me until I was too ashamed to tell anybody about it. And the first book I wrote is called Men Let's Talk, Pornography, the Quiet Addiction. Because the longer you stay quiet, the stronger it gets. And so as a result, finally I just said, Lord, I need some help. But I didn't tell any brother that. And I really think because I didn't tell any other brother that I needed help in this area, that's why it lasted 30 years. A lot of brothers who now, I have it on YouTube, Vimeo, I have a few blogs about it. And since I put it online, I'm thinking just telling brothers in the church about it. Once I put it online, I'm getting emails from pastors around the world. I mean, India, China, Africa. Brother, how do you get over this, man? Because I'm ruining my marriage. I mean, I don't know where to start. And so because they're men of God, they really are even more ashamed or shy to talk about it because they don't know who they can talk to it about. Can't talk to them about the church because they're worried about gossip and all that stuff. So the stronghold the devil has is shame, guilt, feeling unworthy. God can't use you. I mean, that stronghold is what had me for so long. I can't help anybody. I can't tell anybody about this. Once I was delivered, I didn't even tell anybody I was delivered because that would have meant I had to tell you I was addicted. So the stronghold, even 4 years, I didn't write the book till 4 years after being delivered because I didn't want people to know I was even struggling with it, let alone being victorious. And then suddenly it hit me, you know, in the world, that type of addiction is considered a weakness. But in ministry, God uses that to deliver other brothers who may not even know there's a way out. And so the way he's been using me in men's groups like this, marriage fellowships, I've talked to teenagers, because it really started with me as a teen. The way it started, I was very shy. And the way this addiction many times starts is if you have a shyness or a weakness in your personality trait. For me, rejection was the key. I didn't want to be rejected by girls. So the pictures became my replacement for the rejection because I said, well, you know, the pictures never say no. So as a result, that became a replacement. I wasn't really aware of what kind of replacement that was until I got into college. And then it became more and more dominant. I got to the point where my entire wallpaper was centerfolds in college. So my thing was, you know, when a girl comes to my house, she's gonna know what the deal is. Look at my wall. Now, some said, whoa, okay. You're really into this, aren't you? Now I'm still not thinking addiction. I'm thinking, we've heard this, the woman's body is a work of art. Now that was my excuse for many, many years. We're looking at a work of art. Now, a woman's body is God's work of art. But when you're lusting after it day after day, and that's all you're thinking about, it starts perverting how you look at women in a relationship. And so what happens is, I was expecting women to do whatever I saw in the magazines, and this is what the problem with pornography is. This is why it's destroying marriages. A husband is expecting a wife to do what he sees on the video. And if she doesn't do it, thank you, sir. I got my TD Jakes towel, thank you, sir. No, thank you, sir, thank you.
Speaking of that,
All right,
there it is.
ready to replenish. I gotta tell Tony, now I see why he takes his jacket off. It's hot up here. The strong, what was I with all this wonderful water?
The work of art.
Oh, work of art. So, and whenever I would start buying pictorials instead of the magazine. And then and my wife at the time was my second wife. I was delivered before the second marriage. The first marriage, I had another stronghold happening. The devil had me believing that, well, you know, if you look at pornography, you'll never cheat on your wife because, you know, you're satisfied. You're using masturbation. You never cheat because you satisfy yourself. You never go outside the marriage. You won't worry about cheating. You won't worry about going chasing other women because you look at the pictures. That's a stronghold. I'm thinking pornography is helping me not cheat in my marriage. But what does it say? If you lust in your heart, you've already sinned. Well, Matthew 5:28, that's one of my verses. I know what I will do this time. First time 9 years ago when I did this first with Tony, I had just started. I always get so excited about sharing the victory because now I've been victorious. This is my 19th year of being off. 17 years off masturbation. Now, why are there 2 different years? What happened was the stronghold the devil had me in the next slide was, after I got off pornography addiction, the stronghold was still, well, you know, your wife might be tired when it's time to have sex. You want to keep bugging her, you know, so if you satisfy yourself, you know, you won't keep bugging her, and then you won't be frustrated, she's not giving up to you, and so you know, just keep that like safe spot there, and you'll protect your marriage. Now, suddenly, I had a revelation going, wait a minute, but if you're still satisfying yourself, is your wife be able to satisfy you if you're doing it yourself? And suddenly I realized, you know what, I'm still not being fair to her. It's all about what I want. And so pornography addiction, masturbation, all of that's a selfish addiction because when 2 people are married, if the husband is focusing on making the wife happy, the wife should be focusing on making the husband happy. When it's reciprocal, then nobody's worried about me, what I want. It's a mutual respect of scheduling whatever goes on with people, both people are busy, then you have to schedule it, or spontaneous, however it works out. If both people are more reciprocal in terms of making each other happy, that keeps the addiction from turning into a personal, what I want type of thing. And so once the Lord gave me that revelation, because see, Hebrews 10:6 says, once you sin willfully. Now, I knew I was sinning willfully after I started asking for help because whenever I was self-gratified, I had pictures of Jesus all over the house. Before I would do the act, I would go around and take every single picture down and face it down. Now, do you think I'm sinning willfully doing that? I'm pretty much knowing I'm sinning, right? If I'm taking Jesus' picture off the wall, like he's not going to be seeing me. And so, like, after I did that, after a few times of that, I'm going, what are you doing? You actually think God can't see you? You're facing the picture down and think he doesn't know what's going on. So the more I got convicted with that, then it started convicting me of masturbation because it says, well, you're still not fantasizing with the person you married. You married your wife, that should be who your arousals and your love is going back for her. In order to masturbate without your wife, you're still going into this personal thing of what I want. So the way the Lord convicted me of that and healed me of that, you know how the Lord, when he changes you from any addiction, he starts taking that urge away from you. And so what let me know that, okay, I see, Lord, this actually is very similar to pornography addiction, I just didn't realize it, was when I was trying to self-gratify for almost 40 minutes to the point I got so tired that I didn't have energy to do anything but fall out. Never accomplished that goal, but then I said, man, why is this so rough now? You know, like when God takes the desire to stop drinking, what do? You keep drinking and you don't get drunk. You keep smoking something, you don't get high. Because he says, hey, this is not you anymore. And you keep trying to do it, and it gets harder and harder and farther away to accomplish the goal. And you finally get, oh, God, you're saying give this up. Because you're no longer achieving the effect that you wanted to do. Now what I'm going to go through in the beginning here, just kind of, I've broken it down to keep myself on schedule as far as what the word is saying. I gave you a sheet there that has a lot of scripture that you can meditate on. But what I want to show you first on the back is a diagram the Lord gave me to kind of show how all the addictions are interacted with each other. You have the things that people are addicted to, the lust of the flesh. We're talking about sexual lust of the flesh, mostly what I'm talking about, but you know, you got lust of the flesh is drugs, cigarettes, money, power, alcohol. Now, a lot of those are intertwined with sexual. That's why it goes sideways, because a lot of times you're not just addicted to one thing, it's sex and something else. But usually, when you're on alcohol, drugs, depending on what type of cigarettes, you know, they mix some cigarettes, all kinds of stuff now, other than the regular cigarettes, the sex can be combined with it. Now, over on the sex side, you see it goes down to fantasy, which is mainly just the pictures, the videos, and self-gratification. But then you see this other one going a diagonal to the left, which goes into sexual addiction. That's actually having sex with someone else in a variety of ways. And that's what you see, this little myriad of umbrellas going to promiscuity, massage parlors, date rape, group sex, prostitution, strip clubs, voyeurism, adult porn shops, peep shows. The glory hole, I don't know if the glory hole is actually and I never saw one of these, but I read about it. It's when they go into an adult shop in this back room behind the black curtain, and there's a hole. The man sticks his penis through the hole, and someone on the other side is entertaining him. Now, not knowing who or what part you're dealing with, you feel that all the person is focusing on is feeling good. Now that's taking, as you see, we're moving slowly towards perversion, because as you continue down beyond that, you get into sadism, violent rape, incest, bestiality, masochism, homosexuality, child molestation. Now you get into a conglomeration of things that it all started back with the addiction. Now, my main question was always, well, not everybody goes the perverted way. For me, for example, I stayed locked up in the pornography and masturbation circle right there. But then some people who are addicted, depending on their past association with sex in their own life, where they molested as a kid, it kind of perpetuates itself. What their own experience is, if they get addicted, their past experience combines with the addiction and takes its own life, depending on what their own personal association with it was with the past. So that's what this diagram represents. And then this came out of the workbook. The workbook is also called Men Let's Talk. But it's more questions and revelations and facts about the addiction. And all the books are listed on the website on the very front at lulu.com, Word of God. The latest one I'm kind of talking about today is the Victory Over Lust Survivor Handbook. That's my latest book, which is telling both people who are seeking to get delivered and those who are delivered. See, once you're delivered, it's not like a disease that you've been freed forever. It's really like you got the devil under your feet. Now, I'm not so bold even after 19 years to say, you know what, I'm so bad, I'm going to go to a strip club and dare them to tempt me. I'm not going to be that stupid. Because it still is spiritual warfare. Because I'm thinking in the flesh, I'm this bad, I'm 19 years, I ain't done no yet, I'll tempt me. Now, that's like me walking into the devil's house and say, tempt me. And I'm automatically going to lose, because he's going to be throwing stuff in the spirit at me, which I'm in the flesh, got the flesh under control. That's why we fast, to get the flesh under control. I had a black belt guy who was 6th-degree black belt who was addicted to porn. And he said, I just don't understand, I can't get off, I don't know what to do. I said, but you're a 6th-degree black belt. You realize the discipline it takes to get a 6th degree? If you use the same tactic he uses to get the high degree in karate, it's no different in any addiction, especially this one, because you're teaching your body what you need to stop doing. Just like today, I mean, back in the days when we had just magazines and video, now you got internet porn. Now cell phones are so advanced. Now kids are downloading porn to their phones. And so we've got to be kids out. I teach school at LA Unified, and every time it used to be when kids are humming around the phone, they usually listen to music or doing something. But now there are some websites that all our kids are so technically savvy. They know how to crack all kinds of codes that the school district puts up to block from kids in school. And I tell them, you can't be watching that because that's blocked. Well, no problem, I get around that. That's what the 10 or 12-year-old will tell me, oh, I get around that. You can get around a code that was meant to block that from you watching it. And this is not just one kid, all the kids are sharing this information. So we as parents, if you have parents, especially in the middle school or high school area grade, they share all this information of how to break codes. So the latest technology of all these apps, which allow you to download music and porn sites. See, porn sites, they don't care who's downloading it. You know, it says nobody under 18 download this information. But if the kid knows the code, how to get into it, is he going to download it? Yeah. And so, therefore, that part of corruption comes in, and then it manifests itself in that age group, because the sexual hormones at that age are already so out of control that all you need is add that kind of flesh, and it really goes to another level. That's why you have like teen rape and all that stuff, because their hormones are already so high, they don't need to add all that. Now, what the Word says about, what I'll start with is Galatians 5:16. I kind of broke it down into different areas as far as what the Word says about lust as a whole, as far as what we're dealing with. Galatians 5:16 through 18, I'm using the New Living Translation version. It says, "Say then, walk in the Spirit, and you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh, and those are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish." And then it continues on. And I love that's the King James version I just read. New Living Translation says also, "So I advise you to live according to your new life in the Holy Spirit. Then you won't be doing what your sinful nature craves. The old nature loves to do evil, which is just opposite from what the Holy Spirit wants. And the Spirit gives us desires that are opposite from what the sinful nature desires. The two forces are constantly fighting each other, and choices are never free from this conflict. But when you are directed by the Holy Spirit, you are no longer subject to the law." And that's why when you're dealing with this, the more you stay in the Word, it really is all about protecting the eye gate, the ear gate, and with today's commercial television, in trying to compete with cable, as you see, more and more flesh is now being seen on commercial television because they're worried about losing those ratings.
Amen.
So you know what? Let's undress the people a little bit more because they don't have that restriction in cable. So now you're seeing more and more G-strings and thongs and more of completely back nudity in the bed because they still need try to get those advertisers get that money because they start going to cable, they're gonna start losing those sponsors. Those sponsors are gonna move to cable, and now they got a problem. So they'd rather do what they need to do to try to keep those sponsors watching those shows. So we got that bombardment. Music videos are still out of control. You know, and it's always the girls completely undressed, mostly on the thongs, and some of them are outright doing seductive dancing. And so, as a teenager watching a person in a thong doing seductive dancing, that might as well be a strip club for a young person. And even a person hooked on pornography. I mean, there was a song, "I Love the Way You Move." Now, I don't know if I love the song, but when I actually saw the video, I mean, it was a mechanic shop filled with about 5 girls who were mechanics, all in thongs, and one was humping on the car, one was humping on the pole, one was humping on this, humping on that. And then they had another scene where they're walking through the forest in thongs. And that was what was going on throughout the song, "I Love the Way You Move," that song. Now, I love the beat, but I was going like, the image, I only saw this video one time. And every time I hear the song, it still plays right here. Because visual stimulation is about burning it in our minds so that we don't even need to look at it again. Because if you watch a song that lasts 4 or 5 minutes, and you're watching it for 4 or 5 minutes, you're burning that image into your mind and don't even need to see the image physically anymore. Yes?
No, I was just getting ready to say, probably everybody's watching these news girls, these news weather girls.
Oh!
The weather girls, that's all you see now. I mean, you know, they just teleprompt, they just read the teleprompter. I mean,
Yep.
they're not communication specialists,
No,
weather
no.
specialists, you know.
And you see, they're usually the ones who
Yeah.
have the more risky attire than the news anchors.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you always go, and they usually may be new to the area, new to that's the entry level position, then to move up wherever you want. So usually the weather position is where if you're new to news, then you'll come in that and you move up to anchor, to reporter, or field reporter, all the different levels. But I noticed that when it's a new girl, weather girl, they're the ones more scantily clad and under unique outfits. You go, okay. And then but you'll come and watch the weather there. You don't want to see Fritz. Forget Fritz. Check out this baby here, yeah. Fritz, go home. You like to watch weather in a
Fitz.
That's right. For a pleasant situation. But see, that's no accident they do that.
No,
I mean, more and more magazines have centerfolds than ever before. Centerfolds weren't in every magazine before. It used to be just certain, like Sports Illustrated. But now, magazines that aren't even thinking about fitness or health, they have a centerfold just because they know centerfolds makes people buy the magazine. So that's being used as a ploy to attract people to watch it more. Another thing for Romans 13, 11 through 14, And these are just setting up in terms of, especially if we try to live by God's word, it's really the instructions the Bible has given us all throughout all the different levels of problems we're dealing with. Now, 11 through 14, New Living Translation. Another reason for right living is that you know how late it is. Time is running out. Wake up. For the coming of our salvation is nearer now than we first believed. The night is almost gone. The day of salvation will soon be here. So don't live in darkness. Get rid of your evil deeds. Shed them like dirty clothes. Clothe yourselves with armor of right living as those who live in the light. We should be decent and true in everything we do so that everyone can approve our behavior. Don't participate in wild parties and get drunk, or in adultery, or immoral living, or fighting and jealousy. But let the Lord Jesus take control of you, and don't think of ways to indulge your evil desires. See, the old man, we didn't kill him. We got him locked up. But whenever we go to a club or a strip club, we give the old man strength. So we got him locked up. Well, I had a vision a few years ago the Lord gave me as the old man is in this sphere of the jail that we locked up because the new man is now in control. And what he kind of gave me this vision is every time we go and do something that's lustful or tempting, a bar falls off the sphere. So every time we do something else, another bar falls off. Another bar falls off till it's wide enough for the old man to stick his head out, get his head out. Next thing you know, he's back in there fighting you, and you're trying to decide, oh man, am I doing this right? Am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it right? When you had him locked up, knowing, now the old man actually makes us who we are today. Because when we're saved, we know what we're trying to avoid doing, which we're trying to pass on to our youth. Look, I've been there. I'm trying to tell you, now some of them are hard-headed, but we're trying to tell them, I'm telling you, don't take that path. I took that path, got knocked up, I got messed up. Please, of course, some of them want to live it anyway, but at least we're trying to share with the next generation that that is a pitfall that is there. And if we don't keep him locked up, we'll go back into the same pitfall. And so that's what I think about, let the Lord Jesus control our lives, because if we can continuously trying to live the way he wants us to live, and that's our main focus, the devil's distractions can't affect us. I mean, on Resurrection Sunday, I was working in the lobby with my wife. But you talk about a fashion show. Now I'm going now, okay, we saw the traditional attire, but there must have been a third of the young ladies that came looking like they were going to the club after they left church. And I'm talking about dresses above mid-thigh, 6-inch heels, back out, shoulders out, belly out. I'm going now, I know we're not really accosting people for the way you dress in church, but there is a certain way you need to be aware of why you're going to church. Because if you go to church to show as much flesh as possible, that means they may have a misunderstanding of what that attire should be about. Because if you're trying to get a young man's attention in church, which a lot of people do now, we know that a lot of young people will dress that way. Not all these people were young. I mean, some of these young ladies were probably in their mid-40s or up. So we had all levels dressing like this. So it wasn't just one type of dress. So the point I'm making is when we know people are coming to church like that, and we have to keep our mind on the Lord. We know, you almost, guys, we can feel the peripheral vision when a short skirt comes in the room. It's almost like you feel the heat. Don't look. Because the way they walk, just the walk tells you they're wearing something that may be tempting. Okay, guys, you see.
Okay.
And so our goal is what I call the 3-second rule. I'll use it. You may have heard it say, there's a sales pitch. They used to say in sales, if you look at something longer than 3 seconds in sales, you're going to buy it. So in 3 seconds, you see a nice young lady. Well, that's a nice young lady. She looks really nice. Done. Next. But a lot of times, we ask the one question that gets in us trouble. That's a nice young lady. Yeah. What can I do with that? Trouble. What can I do with that? Now you just planted a seed. Or either, man, I remember back in the day, Back in the day, old man, you used to get old man on the street. Back in the day, when you start reminiscing on what your sex life used to be, or the activity used to be, and how good it felt, now you're strengthening a memory. Now those memories are there, but when you start entertaining it, remember the scriptures talk about once it's entertained, it goes into full-blown sin, because once you planted the seed, the body now wants to find out how it's going to manifest that. Now, the next one, Galatians 5:19. Yes.
While you're on that point, you seem to beat up on the men all the time. I'm addressing the last point here, okay? How are you treating the women? Because they seem to get worse.
No, I'm good.
And all the onus is on the male to control himself, as if we're really the problem.
No. I'm glad you said that, because in a rape case, say one of the first things the guy will say is, well, why did she wear this kind of outfit? I mean, she comes flashing this stuff all in my face, and what does she expect? Now, of course, he was weak, but she didn't know what she was doing. So a lot of times, when women are wearing some of these really almost all flesh walking down the street, and they know they're getting looked at, and so it's up to us just to say, look, I know what you're doing. It's almost like my favorite story of David and Bathsheba. You know, the whole debate is, was she taking that bath on the roof because she knows that he comes out sometimes and might possibly look down? Or was it just a coincidence that David didn't go off the war and he comes out on his roof and looks down and sees her taking a bath? Now, either way, maybe let's say she's taking a bath hoping he'll look. He sees her, but he looks at her long enough to say, who is that? Finds out it's one of his soldiers' wives, and still asks for her to come to see him. Then she comes to see him, he has sex, gets her pregnant, and now he wants to send the husband, why don't you go see your wife? Man, you really need to see your wife. But he's so loyal to David. No, man, I'm loyal. I can't go see my wife. None of the other guys are seeing their wife. I'm going to stay true to my king. I'm not going. Oh, David said, that's not going to work, okay? Okay, well, let me just send him to the front line. I got to get rid of him, because if he finds out that that's my baby, not his. So he puts the husband on the front line, he ends up getting killed. The baby ends up dying. So in a way, he reaped what he sowed, because he should have been messing with her to begin with. Now, the debate in theology is obviously, what was Bathsheba's part in this? Because even though the king says, come to see me, what is the biggest question about David and Bathsheba on that particular day was she on that roof taking a bath, hoping that David would see her, to create that point? And to answer your question, as far as, like when I teach school, I tell a lot of my colleagues, and you're seeing more and more teachers falling by the wayside. And in my opinion, what's happening there is they're reminiscing of when they were in high school. The girls today are wearing stuff way beyond what girls, when we were in high school, are wearing. Sometimes I see girls coming into school, I'm going, how did they get out of the house dressed like that? And a lot of times, they change on the way. You know, the whole thing when you wear one thing when you leave the house, and you get to the school, you know, looking a whole different way. But some of the teachers, some of the things, like one guy had the camera under his desk trying to catch the girls sitting down. Another guy had his cell phone taking girls' pictures, bending over, picking up stuff. Made the mistake of, he had pictures of his vacation that he showed the principal, forgot he had pictures of the girls he was taking pictures of on the yard. So the principal's going through the phone, oh, nice vacation, nice vacation. Whoa, what is this? Kept thumbing through and saw about 10 or 12 pictures of girls bending over picking up papers that he was taking pictures of. And so when you see that type of distraction there, my thought is, when you're teaching an age that is sexually active, you as the adult have to understand you passed those days.
Absolutely.
So you get bigger and go like, man, I remember those days. Oh, I wish I had something like that. When you start even saying that, even though you're not even thinking of doing so, once you start saying you're entertaining a past thought. Remember when you entertain the old man, and depending on where your walk with the Lord is, a lot of these guys, I think that's where that happens. As far as the question, yeah.
I understand what's going on here, but I think we need something that's more tangible, where you actually have a movement, because the older women are just as bad.
Oh yeah, oh no, that's why I was saying about you said.
We're getting beat up. Okay, you can't say it to me anymore.
Yeah.
I don't. I see so many pretty women, I don't even look anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there's too many of them.
Yeah, that's right.
They're regular.
And see,
Come hang out
So
with me.
why can't we have something, when you're teaching, why don't you lecture the women now? Okay?
well,
Because they
I
need
know
to
I
be
have.
aligned.
No, when
They need
the
to be
ladies
aligned.
think, when the ladies, I did an episode online about women in pornography. One, as far as how much pornography leads them into being devaluated as far as a woman, because if they're trying to imitate what pornography represents, they're defacing themselves as far as trying to become something that is not them. And a lot of times, since pornography many times is reenacting violent sex in pictures, they end up getting seriously hurt because they're trying to be like this picture because men are admiring these pictures. So it comes down to low self-esteem. If they don't have self-esteem and they see the guys gawking at these pictures or these kind of ladies in the pictures, they say, well, maybe that's what I need to do to get some attention. And so they start going that way. Then you got the sex toys. See, among men are more addicted to the videos in their porn magazines. Women have the sex toys, and their addictions fall in that, and that's where their fantasy is with the sex toy, where a guy's fantasy is with magazines and videos. So a lot of times, it's still an addiction of something beyond the person you should be having arouse you becomes the device.
Just one more
Yeah.
question. You look at TV now, okay? And because I look at TV now and I look at the lineup of all the shows, okay? All the women, okay? New women, they're shooting guns, they're beating up guys, they're jumping
Fight
through
scenes,
buildings,
yep.
Then they go home and they just have great. The movement needs to be on them, okay? Because you're talking to the choir in here.
No. I'm glad you mentioned it because I've only had two women's group, and usually when I talk to a women's group, it's always like a marriage fellowship more than just the women. Even though I've had a few women come up at the end when it's a co-ed, and they'll say, well, I'm glad you brought the fact that it's not just men that have this problem, because statistically, 80% of people addicted to pornography are men, but that's pornography. Like I said, I haven't seen a statistic on sex toys, because there's a magazine I thought was just a general office supply magazine called Dr. Leonard's. Has all these great things in the beginning. You get to the last 10 pages, there's all kind of dildos. I said, what kind of magazine is this? Wait a minute, the first part is all these office supplies, so I'm about, hey, this is a good magazine. I'm turning, I said, what, aphrodisiac? Dildo A, dildo B, dildo C. I mean, not just one, all types. I'm going like, and this is just something you just order for $9.99 through a magazine mail order. Yeah.
I mean, many times in this class, I often hear this strain of like, what about the woman's culpability? First of all, this is a men's class, I think. And then secondly, men take the lead. So I'll tell you personally, one thing that I try to do, and I'm not always successful, but I try to hold myself to, is if there is a woman who is seductively dressed and I'm interacting, if I'm not interacting with her, I try not to look or stare because they feel that. And they get that feedback, right? And if I am interacting with her, I'm locked right here.
That's right.
and that involuntary response to do that, it's like men take the lead. It's like if we as men, if every man didn't respond to what a woman was putting out, it wouldn't happen.
Oh no, it happened on the way here before I hit the steps. And without even, I can peripheral vision tell you what she had on. Because I was coming across the street, rushing across the street, she was on the opposite side of the street. And I kid you not, this is the way she looked at me come off the street. And she must have, peripherally, she must have been about a 40 here. Now I'm going, oh, I ain't about to look down.
You didn't even get to the phone second.
She's already doing this. I said, oh yeah, I'm going down. I ain't about to
I mean, when it's that obvious and we're in a church, when we're in a church situation, it's like
I'm coming across the street like this, and she's walking with me like that.
And I'm not even saying that.
I'm just saying, but they don't. This means nothing
Right.
to somebody who has
No.
proof.
But I'm saying when we're in a church situation, it's like, what if you, me, any other guy said, sister, what was that about? Like, what if we challenged her?
We challenged.
No, that's right.
If it's that obvious in a church situation, we obviously can't be doing that out at the Beverly Center.
No, yeah.
But at church, what if we, one of us,
You and your
one of us,
I like the peripheral. You know, in reference to what Marv was
I'm
saying,
thinking about that. I'm thinking about
a lot of preachers, they don't have men on the front row.
Yeah.
Like Noel Jones, they had a group because they was sitting with short skirts on. And you notice anybody who sits up on the podium with Sister Blake, they got the scarf
Right, yeah.
because it's distracting.
Some churches will bring a scarf and put it there if they don't
Right.
bring a scarf.
And so,
because of that.
you know, Bishop has his row of elders and ministers to his left. He likes to look out and see his fellas out there for support because there's so many people that come out and they're just exposed. So I asked Noel Jones years ago, I said, do women tempt us coming here or is it just me? He says, no, they put it out there every day, son. I asked him this about 14, 15 years back when he first got here. So Marv, they put it on a stick and like Les was saying, we gotta be Superman. We can't even look. I was working in Hollywood. I'm working in Hollywood and these people are walking by the sidewalk. It's like I ain't even looking, and then you got the ones that look back to see if you're gonna look. So you can feel them like, are you looking? Are you peeping? And they'll pose on you.
Oh yeah.
Flex it out there, and you sit back. I'm more than that.
That's
I'm a new man now. You gotta come at me with something else. 10 years ago, I may have crashed it.
I mean, the women's Sunday school class should absolutely be having that discussion, Marvin. I mean, absolutely. But it doesn't excuse our own culpability in the situation. No matter what Bathsheba did in the David story, that it doesn't mean one iota about what David did. David was just as wrong, and Bathsheba was out there saying, "David, come and get it." He was just as wrong. He was no less wrong.
Especially once he found out he was the wife of one of the men. I mean, it's just like saying, "Oh, that's my boy's wife. Ask her to come over." I mean, it's almost like totally disrespecting knowing once you know whose wife it is and continue on. That is almost inexcusable as far as. That's why I said about the 3-second rule. We got to know that, okay, there's a limit of how far we get involved. Like we're saying, we see it, boom, quit from there. Yes, sir.
I think there's a level of maturity. You know, like I say, when you're young, when you're a child, a teenager, you don't think like a teenager. But then when you become a parent and you raise daughters, you can't see women like you did when you was 19 and in your 20s. And some people, some men fail to understand that.
Yeah.
You know? So that's where that corruption and perversion come in.
Right.
Because like I said, I had 2 daughters, and when I see somebody of my daughter's age or whatever, I can't look at them the same way. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
I see my daughter, I'm definitely not going to be getting aroused with my daughters.
Right.
And that passes along, but if you can isolate like a lot of men do, that's why they can have somebody younger than their daughter, and they go out and they continue to do what they do, because they haven't accepted, and it's not the lady's responsibility. She looks beautiful, you naturally attracted to a female, but that don't mean you have to rape her, you don't have to touch her, you don't have to sexually eyeball her, or however you want to do it. You gotta have self-control. And if you don't have that, don't put the blame on the opposite sex. Like you say, you was walking across the street, you had an option, you could have just said, concentrate on Jesus Christ.
I got a class I got to get to. I'm probably going to do what I tell you guys not to do in class. I'm being tempted to do what I'm telling you not to do on the way to tell you not to do it.
The way it works.
I said, no, devil knows exactly what he's doing. Here I'm going to tell you how to be controlled. And he's going to throw a temptation at me just before I get to the door. Let me see if you really know what you're preaching. Yes.
Like the pastor said, if you focus on God, no matter what the situation is, guarantee you, whatever's in front of you is not going to bother you.
Joseph.
That's right.
And that's what these scriptures are all saying. Keep Jesus in your mind and your goal to walk His way and His will. We're focusing on that.
You won't be drifting.
Because I used to have the phrase, can't afford to fall. We came too far to fall. I mean, as hard as we work to get our walk straight and get our life in line with the Lord, And of course, we may feel your fall, Lord forgive me, because that was a stronghold too, because some people fall and feel they failed. But when you walk in a new way, if you fall, you gotta say, forgive me, Lord, I've sinned. Because that's when you feel like not sinning. You feel like, oh man, I'm too dirty now, I can't say forgive me. Yes, you can, because the devil wants you to feel too unworthy to give up trying to walk his way, and he's got you falling back to the old man. Another comment you said?
Oh, yeah, let me just, Les, throw up a good question. And just hypothetically, well, anyway, your opinion. Can Les say to her, what's going on? Why are you doing that? Or why are you dressing like that? Is that proper for the Christian man to address a woman then?
Ooh.
Well, you know what?
Ooh.
That is interesting, because the interesting thing would be she could either play stupid. What do you mean? Or she could take that as your active response may show interest. I mean, it's really hard to tell.
Or she could go off on.
Yeah.
That's the one we
What do you think? I'm a guy who you're afraid to. Mind your own business.
Come at you off.
Oh yeah, I mean, that is a loaded
You want to buy
question.
me some outfits?
I think
There's ways to do it. There's ways to do it versus just simply challenging what she's wearing or how she did it. It's like if we truly had our spirits right, and you actually engaged her, right, and you started to talk about some real things about the Lord. Ask her like, do you go to Bible study? Do you go to Wednesday night church? Without if your spirit is right, not like, hey, I want to see you there, but just start inquiring about in some way her Christian life and her Christian walk, right? And it's like it's like that even in itself can be convicting to them if they were really doing something outlandish. I mean, there's some flirting that's not sinful or whatever. A woman smiles at you or whatever. It's like, come on now. I mean,
we're talking about the dress.
He's talking about the dress.
We're talking about the dress, Les.
Okay, I'm gonna touch on what both of these guys are saying. Example: Black History Month at the mall. Taft, good to see you, baby. One of the sisters from the church who was stunning was at the mall with leopard on one day. Kept coming by, hugging me. Then another day she came by with these jeans. She's a 10 now, 210. 210. Dark black from Florida, get back. Right? Another sister, I wasn't gonna touch that because she comes to the shut-ins. You've seen her, you saw her, you go, right? So you gotta ignore it. Because she's dealing with that thing. Somebody else is gonna let somebody else run the ship into the ship. Because you can just be a witness to her that she didn't faze you. I'm overlooking that 10, that 36, 24. Wow. I don't see it, but you do. But you ain't
peripherally.
Not even peripherally. I'm talking head on. I see
3
you,
seconds.
but you're not getting my energy. Right. You're not stealing my spirit. You're not taking my strength because I see beautiful women like you all the time. Aesthetically, this is what I mess them. I'm gonna say, what's your spirit like?
See,
do you have some content?
What you're feeling. See, all of us trying to walk.
Fritz, let me finish with this.
Okay.
My point was, she came all week, Marv, and a sister from West Angeles came and did what, y'all? Checked her. What? Hello. I held my peace for the whole week because I know her. But another older sister came and they were doing this head to head. I didn't need that. I was running a business trying to make some money. If I would have said, I noticed your nipples are out today. I mean, do you understand as a Christian what the people are going to think? She didn't need all of that. She needed some love, right, with no gloves, from a distance. I'm praying for her. Just pray for her. Lord, touch her. Keep me under control because everybody around was running over me. Who was that? They were concerned for my safety, right? I was okay. But the sister came by, 2 of them. And I did this, y'all. She goes to West Angeles. She goes to West. I got out the way and let them all squabble. They went at it against each other. So we all got a role to play. My grandmother would always say, let it be. Forest City, Arkansas, just let it be. That's all you got to do. I was praying One year, Michael Jackson came to me at the Beverly Hills show 2 weeks before he died. And I was praying and fasting all that week. And the Lord said, just pray for him. And then, you know, he dies two weeks later. I was praying for my niece who just rebelled, didn't come home one night. She calls me and talks 3 hours. Never. 3 hours. You know, told her mother the guy's gonna drop her off a block from the house, and he ain't coming to the house. He dropped her off from a block, kept going. I knew the deal. So you gotta beat them by being better than them, because they're dealing with issues.
Well, see, what you're also picking up is, see, when we walk in God's way, you actually feel those spirits.
There you go.
As soon as somebody like that walks up, it's almost like above them, behind them. I say, none but the spirit of lust.
Thank you.
And so I say, it's almost as soon as I say none but the spirit of lust, the desire to look at them stops, because I understand the trick that's behind it.
And they know what they do
Oh, yeah.
to people. They do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
They come up to stuff. They know what they're up to.
No, a close
they
friend of
know
mine
it.
about 10
You
years ago.
ignore them. They know it. That's their MO.
Yeah, I mean, the young man was a deacon, and this young lady she got him to the point where he was starting chasing her, because, she thought he had a potential relationship, and they started getting close, and he, I'm trying to stay celibate, man, it's really rough, and as soon as he slipped, she said, see, I told him I could bust you, and then just walked away.
That's it.
See, I told him I could bust you.
See?
So the whole thing, this went on for like 6 months. He thought he had a relationship forming, and then he said, well, maybe this might be my next wife. So let me just try to stay celibate. I think I really love her. He's getting more and more involved, and when she said that was like taking a dagger, because her whole mission was to show, I guess, her girlfriends that she could bust a deacon. And so that's how deep the alternative motives go, in terms of we don't know when somebody's walking past us what that motive is. That's a motive to make a man of God fall.
Dangerous. They got the forces of hell behind.
That's a question. I think all of us have probably been through a situation like this. And I'm talking about our response. If you're driving in your car and you pull up to an intersection and a fine sister walks by, dressed properly, you're in the car by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your response? By yourself. She just walks across your street. She don't see you.
3 seconds.
Wait a minute. Second one.
This is my range right there.
Okay. Honestly, I'll tell you what my honest response is after I put these 3 out.
Okay.
The next time you pull up and you're with your boy, tight partner in the car, you're all talking stuff. Okay. Fine sister walks by. Okay. Fine, she's banging. Third, with your girl, or your wife, your woman, whatever, you pull up to the intersection. Fine woman walks by.
Yeah, movie script.
Take one, take two.
This is good scenario.
3 takes.
Honestly, where are you coming from? Each one of those scenarios
Just look.
from you.
No.
Honestly.
What I actually do to be consistent, I do the same for all 3.
You do.
I do. This way the Lord broke me.
Honestly.
This way the Lord broke me. When I did, when I did rewrite,
When by yourself,
By
you
myself.
with your boy,
now, this is my range right here, guys. Here she comes. Oh man, yeah, okay. Now, you know where she is.
Yeah.
Now, almost every time I said, okay, I gotta look again. Bus.
Thank
Next time it happens. Truck. Next time. Every single time I said, I just gotta look one more time. Something pulled, or she got on the bus. I said, okay, Lord, I understand. You convict me every time because I'm knowing that I want to get that one more look. So after that happened repeatedly, now it's getting to a point where, okay, a few times it's like, Now, if I take that second glance, I don't ask that question. With that question I say, man, what could I do with that? Because if I ever say that, I know for me, that plants a seed. And now I'm dealing with this thought of lust is now going somewhere else because I look past this way I'm telling you the way I've trained myself as far as anytime I have looked past those 3 seconds, I'm dealing with a thought that I'm trying to get out of my head that shouldn't have gotten in my head because I knew I looked past what I should have. Now, of course, my wife, I don't go past this. And then she'll say, man, she knows she shouldn't be dressed like that. I said, who?
There you go.
She'll say it because she know I saw it. I'm not gonna say it to see it. She's walking right by here, so she knows I see it. So I'm not gonna say, well, I understand what you're talking about, dear. But she's like you said, she's convicting the girl up and left and right. What's the rest of that dress? What she think she's doing? So she opens the conversation, even though I wasn't gonna say anything about it. But I think my silence probably let her know that I was.
Some women won't say nothing, they just look at you.
To watch, see what you're gonna do. There was
But honestly.
I had one with my boy.
Honestly,
My boy.
honestly, what is your response?
Right, but he getting ready to say about his boy.
My third one, a friend of mine was a musician, and like I said, I try as much as possible to be consistent all three because, for me, because I actually was addicted for 30 years, it's more detrimental for me to make a second look as far as I've gotten to where I am now. But we were driving, we were on the train, on the subway, and these girls got on from the Hollywood Kodak Center or something, army, V-neck, slit, everything up, right? And so they're like right here, and I'm right here, and I said, now I know what all this is about. I just came from ordination class. I said, I know exactly what this is about. So for me, I'm taking it personal. I'm seriously taking it personal because I just came from class, trying to get my ordination, and the devil throws this at me. And my boy's going, man, I tell you, get on this train, it's just something else. He's like, I just can't do nothing. I just can't do nothing. Well, I'm not going to go and say, I know what you mean, because I say, yeah, man. So I know, for me, that's off limits for me. For me to maintain where I'm trying to stay. But hearing him talk about it, I knew exactly what he was talking about. So when I saw that 3 seconds of what was coming in on the subway, I knew for a fact that, okay, I know it's there because you see it peripherally. So even you can't shut your shutters. You know they're there, and you know they're beautiful. They're dressed nice, and today's outfits are intentionally meant to be more and more provocative. Because as far as I'm concerned, the imagination starts knee up when something's shorter than knees. But you know all the shorts now that are the actual way they wear almost up to the crease in your hips. I mean, that's actually the style, because designers are trying to make as much flesh as possible look sexy. Well, we're trying to walk the walk, and everywhere you look, you got everybody wearing these kind of outfits. Some people don't need to be wearing those outfits and wearing it. But the whole thing about design right now is show as much flesh as possible. And for us, that's like, okay, I gotta get a mindset here together. And like what we were saying before, keep an eye on what our mind should be on is the only thing about that. Now, the one I want to share with you, another scripture right there while we're talking about that, is I just took some scriptures out to stay on schedule. Galatians 5:19 through 22 is talking about what we just basically been talking about, following your sinful nature, how we shouldn't be looking at things that we should be doing, keeping our eyes on Jesus. Then I get down to where we're talking about the types of principalities to deal with. When we're talking about spiritual warfare, when we're men of God trying to walk God's walk, what we're talking about with the flesh level, that's just our human flesh trying to stay on a straight and narrow path. But in the spirit, the whole goal is to get us away from God's walk and make us fall, feel worthless, just pull us away from God and go back to the old man. So that's why my motivation, like I was saying with you, these 19 years have not been easy, but the longer each year has passed, I've gotten stronger, because now I'm 10 years less free than I was addicted. So I was addicted 30, and now I've been free 20. So the longer I'm walking that path, I'm getting stronger and stronger, so I can let other brothers know that, hey, the temptations ain't gonna go nowhere. They're gonna be there, because the television not going anywhere, movies not going anywhere, fashion's not going anywhere, flesh is gonna be in our face all the time. So it's what we do to keep our walk. And that's why I think all the different types of fasts that you do, whether it's food fast, anything you do, any kind of fast that is controlling your body, because a lust of the flesh is another control of the body. And so that whole thing about if you can do anything for 30 days straight, because when I first got delivered, I'd make it 15 and I'd fall. I'd get to 20 and I'd fall. Oh man, got started over. I couldn't get to that 30, it took about 8 months to get to that 30 days, because those the body is fighting you just like food. You know, because if it's masturbation or fantasy, sexual addiction, the body is craving what you used to always just answer that addiction, just answer it. Now you're trying to say, no, I'm trying to withdraw, I'm trying to withhold from that. And the body is asking for something, so I had to either do workouts, something physical had to answer the physical craving. Because the body is desiring a physical activity, sex. So either walking, working out, breathing exercise, something physical had to answer what that body was craving. And after I did it enough times, then it became a reaction to that craving to try to figure out, okay, stop it in this path. So that's yeah.
Let me ask another question. This is not to you.
No.
This is to us. Would any of you brothers here, and let's go
A little louder.
would any of us in this room here marry or have married a woman without having a sexual relation before?
No.
You would not marry a
No, I thought that was a question.
The question is, would you marry a woman and not have a
If
sexual
God
relation
showed up
before?
and highlighted and said, marry her, yeah, I probably would. But basically, I probably wouldn't.
I would.
Who said?
I would.
You would marry?
Like say if I was dating a woman and not for like a year or whatever time God said, and I wouldn't have to have sex with her before I married her.
And my reason is that because we live in the age we live in, you need to know what you get into. You know? You end up on the Jerry Springer show saying I married a man and didn't realize it. I mean, you can't have that kind of thing.
If you can't trust the Lord to know you ain't married a man, you can't trust the Lord. I'm sorry.
So you need to know. You know?
Well, I mean,
Man.
my thing was that from yeah.
Let's touch Carl here. There was an Elder Brian had spoke on this particular issue once before, and he had a client. He had several clients. He shared this with me, and one lady was like, "I'm gonna sample the plumbing. I'm gonna sample the water," and you know what happened? It didn't happen. And so that's the whole thing about faith, Carl, and allowing God to do it and not you. That's why you have premarital counseling. They ask you in premarital counseling, are you sexually active? And most of the time, men will be lying. Oh, no. And the woman will be like, oh, yes, we did before we got here. Right? So they'll say yes, yay, or nay. You have our blessing. Oh, no, you need more counseling. You need to deny yourself. Because once you cross that line, you know, my mother taught me years ago, be a friend. I messed up a lot along the way because I crossed the line. And like Tony would say, if you don't touch them, it's nothing they can say. They can't say anything like in reference to the deacon. They can't say nothing because you didn't touch them. And so you can make love to a woman spiritually. Spiritually. Look at the whole story. Is it Isaac? You know, he came and he was in love. He just saw her, and the woman covered herself. Oh, that's my husband, my Lord. She was like, what? You can't see. That's true love.
Okay.
And so, wait a minute. So, if you are looking at today's standard, yes. If you have fallen by the wayside, they sing an old song, I know the Bible's right and somebody's wrong. You have to believe in the word. If God, like Bishop said, if God is giving you something, see, that's your thing, Carl. But Melchizedek said, I believe it too. I believe it because I know if I cross that line, it's going to mess it up for me. I know that. And God is saying, trust me. Because a lot of married people will tell you sex will be secondary later on when you get older. Sure. You know, I got a doctor, he had his prostate removed. He's an ER surgeon. His dad's bringing him sex toys. Son, it'll be all right. You know, and he tells him 50 years afterward that he had the illusion that that his mother and father had a great sex life, but it was in the tank for the last 30 years. Just fooling him. And he comes out and giving him all these sex toys, And he's a doctor, but he's coming at his son like that. And so one of the brothers in the class there, he had his prostate removed. I went to see him, this was years ago, and his concern was, I wonder how the sex life is going to be with the wife. You know, he was concerned, you know, but he was like, when I look at it, you know, our marriage was more than just sex, of course. You know, Noel Jones said years ago, if God created anything better than sex, he kept it to himself, you know, years ago. But we put too much emphasis on that, because how many people had great sex with a witch, with an evil girl? They're mad. And I was listening to a radio show, and the man said, how come all the best sex is from the crazy ones? The women call in, why? You know, that was the men called in, Mark. They weren't the women. The men was saying the best sex, but she was crazy. Right?
Yeah.
But they're not together.
Yeah.